XCOPY he's always experimenting. He's always like pushing.
We can say, yes, NFTs are, some apes, some PFPs, some GIFs. But in this case, it doesn't really matter what visually it is, because it's about like this whole performance. It's basically intangible art. It's performance art.
The idea of critiquing consumer goods through the consumption of itself.
I love that XCOPY is always experimenting with, what can be done and what's possible.
Money laundering and bubble bursting. Everyone is saying, okay, how do I sign up?
Hey everyone, welcome to a third episode of Bonafides. Really excited for the chat we're going to have today. We're going to talk about bubbles and all about bubbles and the impermanence of on-chain art. I'm reporting live from Miami, from my friend's AC's house, and let's get started. And today the episode is sponsored by Shape in more ways than one. It is the network for on-chain objects, and it is the chain where you can mint bubbles. So today I'm going to go left to right and top to bottom. Mdiac from HiveMind. We have Mimi reporting live from Art Basel, and we got Roses, the expert behind XCOPY. And so let's get started. First, wanted to ask Mimi, reporting live from Art Basel with, it seems like, coin laundry in the background. How are things going over there?
So we are in preparation for the day 2 of Art Basel, and it still hasn't been the public days. Yesterday we had the first preview day, which was really, really busy, and we're ready for the second day with our XCOPY floor. And I'm looking forward to seeing all the conversations.
Amazing. So it looks like the Coin Laundry physical exhibit is actually in the background, as you can see.
It is, yes. You can actually see what's happening in the booth of XCOPY. So this is what people will see when they arrive to the 010 sector in Art Basel, Miami, from the Meridians. And yeah, I hope they will be quite drawn into what's happening in the machines and what's happening with the floor and the coin laundry. And this is the conversation started when we started to talk about NFTs and the artwork of XCOPY.
Amazing. So if you can guide us, I know that Mdiac and Roses haven't seen it in person, and I think a lot of the viewers and listeners haven't seen it in person. Can you explain what happened? So somebody goes to Coin Laundry, this physical exhibit, in person. What happens next?
So Coin Laundry is, I think, maybe the only one in the sector that is, the artwork is actually the installation. So it's not really the exhibit of, any artwork that is shown in, like framed or shown on a screen, but the artwork is the whole space. So you have to enter it and experience that as you are going to a coin laundry shop. So we try to recreate the feeling of the real environment. So we get real machines into the fair with the sign of coin laundry, a battle bench, and an XCOPY floor. So the idea is, and then we actually have also, which now is being refreshed for the second day, a basket with fresh laundry. And when people got into that, it gives you slightly more, of course, immersive experience of the artwork, but they get really drawn into the piece. And this is when we start to talk to them about the bubbles that are inside each machine. So we have hundreds of bubbles inside that hide a gift from XCOPY, which is real soap, do you guys want to see it?
Yeah, absolutely. Now we know that it's not a set. Mimi can actually walk to the background and grab a soap.
I haven't seen one of these yet. Any pictures and videos?
So you're the bubble. And once people come and start talk to us, where we can explain them what the artwork is about, of course, we start to talk about the perception of the public, about the crypto space, money laundering, and bubble bursting. They really get curious about also what it is exactly. And we they fill out the form. So an order form, that the one that you do in any laundry shop for dry cleaning, when they can leave their details to us, they can choose. I can show you that as well because it's also XCOPY branded. So you have the form where everyone can leave their details to us. They can choose the service, wash or dry, cycles, allergies, irritants, special instructions. It's really useful because there are all the details actually here of the booth, so they know where to come back. For example, if we run out of the bubbles, and website. So we keep part, and of course we keep the receipt. We give it back to the to people. Then they get the soap, which is the next copy soap. And they get the most important thing, which is the claim card.
Nice.
So inside each bubble, yeah, we can talk about it in detail later. But
that soap is a soap that anybody who is in the space will likely never use. They will keep it.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Shea butter soap though.
Yeah, they're not gonna use it. But Mdiac, I know we were chatting a lot about. We were kind of talking about, hey, we're doing something related to XCOPY at our Basel, and you wanted to get a lot of details from us, but we couldn't share anything. But now I think you got all the details.
Well, I'm getting it live like everyone else. I've been pestering you and Praveen for close to 2 months, probably, for more details, having heard that something was happening at Art Basel Miami. But it's cool to see it live. I'm looking forward to hearing stories about just traditional collectors curious about NFTs, having this as their first experience, their first wallets, their first NFT as well. It's interesting way to bring on board some new collectors. Have there been many discussions with trad collectors, the types that didn't expect 010 to be the scale that it is, who've been asking, who obviously see the money laundering and bubble discussions online, maybe have their own opinions? Has this swayed any thoughts that they've had?
I don't think it swayed anything, but it actually so the reaction, the facial expression that I get from talking to people was that they were not against it. So, I spoke to it ranges from literally from 80 years old or maybe even over 80 years old people who came and get the word. So of course this was very clear and fun experiment for us, for me, Praveen and Han being in the booth, because no one said anything wrong about NFTs, because this is what we basically said. We're like, yeah, you are in the laundry shop and it is bubble bursting. So they're like, oh yeah, you're right. And then like, so do you want it? And I actually, as a test, I don't even say, do you want the bubble? I just like, yeah. And everyone is saying, okay, how do I sign up? And it's such a refreshing feeling because, of course, as a gallery, I normally sell digital work. So if I go to traditional fairs, I sell them a flash drive or something, or I explain it, the whole situation. Sometimes I don't even use the word NFTs, right? I just say it's a digital work that has a certificate on this public ledger. I will send you all the informations and stuff. But here, we just say, yeah, it's NFTs and it's crypto and everyone is signing up. So it's really refreshing, and it's fun because people can't really go back to you and say, oh yeah, it's bad, because we are saying that the bubble is bursting. So it's really fun, and everyone is signing up, and the experiment is like, I don't say anything and everyone is, just from themselves saying, where can I sign up? How can I get it?
Mm-hmm.
Hannah,
hey, Mimi, I'm curious, quick question for you. So of all of the people that you've been meeting so far, trad art collectors and people there at Basel, has anybody heard of XCOPY before? I'm curious, we've seen, XCOPY's obviously been, one of, if not the most successful digital artist, so far to come out of this space. But has also, so far been included in things like Art Basel and, more traditional art related events, not nearly as much as, some of the other artists that have kind of come out as being, top selling artists over the last few years. And so it's always been really interesting to me, just because, XCOPY is, my I don't want to get in trouble, but one of my very favorite artists in the space. And I've always been very interested to kind of understand and see like when the traditional art world is going to start to take notice of this artist who, has by far more sales data and sales, history than anyone at this point. So I'm curious.
No, so no one heard, apart from people who are from the space.
Yeah.
I think yesterday it was quite popular because we had people traveling, especially just for this thing. So I think maybe 40-50% were our people yesterday, because like they knew that this is happening, so they were coming. But the rest who came, so yesterday there was VIP still, not the public. So I assume that, after yesterday, the number of normies will just get more and more. So it will like switch to like 70% today of non-crypto people, because all the crypto people came yesterday, and then from Friday to Sunday it possibly will be 80% non-crypto people. So the people who are not from crypto space or dealt with blockchain before have never heard of XCOPY, because I do ask them like, have you ever heard of this artist, and they like, no. I think the only artist they heard was possibly People and Refik, because these are the people who are making the news.
Yeah, I think I was at briefly. Mimi and Praveen did Herculean efforts to basically get this exhibit looking that perfect. And then I just dropped by and just took a look, and I was manning the laundromat briefly, and I experienced and got a glimpse of a little bit of the whole scene. And my perception was, indeed, nobody knew who XCOPY was, except for the people who are obviously in the space already. But I think for sure, I think it will change. And the thing that was really cool for me was when I described the concept. This is a conceptual piece of art. When I described the concept to people, they instantly got it, and like their eyes would light up, and they're like, "Oh wow, that's really fun," And so I think it was really cool.
There was this clash moment, which one of my favorite moments was like Han met a journalist from one of the strictest art publishers, so art magazines, which is called Hyperledger. It's like the most difficult to get one, because they never get paid and they never go work with any PR companies. So I mean, when you have ArtNet, Art Newspaper, they do collaborate with PR companies. So if you go for agencies, you get articles there. But Hyperallergic is like the one that criticizes actually the traditional world as well. So they stay very authentic, and the woman came and spoke to Han. So it was the moment when she had no clue who XCOPY is, and Han had no clue what Hyperallergic is. And it was just like, "Me, have you heard of Hyperallergic?" And it was like a very nice experience, because she spoke to Han, she recorded him speaking about XCOPY, and then she left the details as well. So it was kind of exactly the moment what I think we wanted to create with 010 sector, that you have traditional artwork that is coming and getting interested in our artists, and actually we also kind of merging more with the artwork. And yeah, it was crazy, because she recorded a whole video about Han explaining about artwork.
I hope I did a good job explaining it. I didn't even know what I was saying.
You got into the strictest art magazine, so I think that's fantastic.
Amazing.
On that, I'm curious how deep you go with the metaphor and your interpretation. Obviously, you've both been with this artwork for a few weeks, months, working on this. Roses, you're like me, I'd imagine, very recent to it over the last 24 hours. How do you interpret it below? I love obviously diving into XCOPY. I love writing threads. I spend a lot of time on Tumblr looking for personal interpretations and personal evaluation of the art. Is just a hobby towards one of my favorite artists as well. You've got the very surface level metaphor, money laundering, outside perception of NFTs as a bubble, but it's still very reflective of XCOPY's existentialism. It's quite clearly, to me at least, influenced by 90s anti-consumerism as well, like Adbusters, Fight Club as well with the soap. The idea of critiquing consumer goods through the consumption of itself. And I saw, I think it was it Chikai put out the tweet saying that the physical is the item that will last longer than the digital. I actually think that that is the reverse, but it's what you'd expect and what I'd imagine most people going to the booth will expect, when in reality, the soap still degrades. It's not going to last 10 years' time. The digital, you'll probably be left with residue. You'll be left with a receipt on chain, which is more permanent than the decaying soap. In itself is just an interesting story for new people to come in and reflect on, thinking about how you can hedge oblivion by buying more bubbles. Ultimately, they're likely going to burst as well. Have you gone deeper into this yourself, thinking about how it relates to decay, existential threats, anything else over longer periods in XCOPY's work? Is it his intention to keep it more to the original metaphor? Curious to get your thoughts on how anyone else has thought about the piece.
Yeah. If Mimi, did you want to go first? Or I can go first too, if you want.
You go first.
Okay. Yeah, I love I love bubbles. This project has been so fun, and this has actually been also for XCOPY. I could totally tell, like, he's having a lot of fun with this project. And
so what you're saying is I'm being too serious with this, and it's just fun bubbles.
Well, there's so many layers to it. I think you're right that it's both a really fun project, but it is a serious project as well. And for viewers and listeners who are not aware of how this project works, it's basically that you can mint a number of bubbles, and once the bubbles, the minting period ends, which is Sunday. And so, by the way, if you got a claim code or if you're on the allowed list, make sure to mint your bubbles before Sunday. Because after that time, minting is closed. And then what happens is that over a 10-year period, every single day, a certain number of bubbles, it's all random, are going to pop. And by popping, the analog is that these NFTs will be burned. So they'll be sent to a burn address, and they will no longer exist in your wallet. And so that's going to go on for every single day until 10 years later, there'll be one bubble left. There will be one bubble. And so what's so interesting about this project for me is that I got into the space because I looked at NFTs as this, for the art experience at least, was the culmination of like possibly eternal, something that is eternal. So for example, when I got into art blocks and Fidenzas and all that stuff, what really resonated with me was that, hey, here's this token. Here's the seed that goes into the algorithm, which is also persistent on chain. And then as long as Ethereum exists, like, okay, it's there forever. And so what I love about this project is that first of all, these bubbles are really cute. You do get attached to all of them. And then what you're going to find out is over a 10-year period, they're going to start dying. They'll disappear. And then inside of the UI, on the bottom left, there's going to be just like a game. There's going to be a ghost bubble and the number of deaths that have happened so far. So it's such a fun, great project that is like the opposite of like what we talk about for NFTs. Mm-hmm. And then there's also the gamified portion, which is like, do you have the last bubble? This is gonna be like a really fun project that just lasts years and years. And imagine the potentially the lore that comes out, as in like, somebody sold that bubble for like 2 cents because they didn't care, and that was the bubble. After 10 years later, that was the last bubble. And so I think it's going to be really fun. I'm excited for like what's going to happen. And yeah, so I
had a question for you, Han, about the concept. Okay, so if you've got, let's say, 10 bubbles right now, are my 10 bubbles going to be popped 10 days from now, or is it totally random which bubbles get popped? And if you have 10 right now, you still might be last bubble in 10 years. Like, do you need hundreds or thousands of bubbles to last for 10 years? Or is it totally kind of, obviously the more bubbles you have, the better chance, but like, is it completely random?
It is completely random. In fact, it is on-chain random. It uses VRF underneath. And so it's cool. Yeah,
that's really interesting, like you said, because we've seen somebody posted this morning, and I laughed about it on X. We're down bad when people are selling their bubbles for 2 cents. And imagine being the person 10 years from now, having sold your bubble for 2 cents, and it's the final bubble. That'd be pretty perfect for the concept, actually.
And I think it would prepare us for like a really interesting lore that comes along. And and what you're looking at here is before Praveen went to the other thing. It was like a cluster basically of the bubbles that is in Odius's wallet. Yeah, hello Odius. He has 200 bubbles, and indeed any one of these could be the last one. And so and nobody knows. It's verifiable randomness, as William said. And and by the way, Mdiac and Roses, were you able to mint bubbles?
I was, yeah.
Minted on both. Yeah.
Nice.
I messaged a few people. I unfortunately wasn't able to make it to Miami this year. I've had some family stuff pop up this week that made me not be able to travel, but I've already messaged like 5 people asking them to try and find me some codes if they can. And I don't know if I'm actually allowed to do that, but
yeah, amazing. And and Mdiac, you had some thoughts about I think you asked the question, and I think you actually have some deep thoughts on this. So we'll actually love to hear what you think.
On the art piece itself, or on
the layers of meaning in the art, and I think you had some thoughts.
Yeah, well, I think I'm always curious. I've never met XCOPY, never had a direct conversation. I always wonder whether the interpretations go much deeper than what is on the screen. I think he benefits from the fact that there's a large network and also a huge amount of resource available from the likes of Tumblr, where you can refer back to previous works to, at least for fun reasons, try and see what might have influenced certain artistic directions and decisions. But yeah, I think it's fun visually. They're great. Seeing people arrange them is fantastic as well. I saw XCOPY respond to one person on X who had arranged by color to say not to refresh the screen because it all goes back to a jumbled copy of the bubbles after. I hope there are ways that people can stay engaged. I guess each day, I don't know if it's going to be the same time each day, every 24 hours they're eliminated, or it's continuous, but it's going to be fun to see people build on this and build ways to track and see who's had the most burned items, who's got the most items left over time, whether or not there's deeper meaning and it is anti-consumerism artwork. I'm sure there's going to be an element of that because it's the perfect venue, Art Basel, to reflect a bit deeper on value and meaning. But at the very least, it's great to see people on the timeline engaged and having fun again, because we haven't had that for a bit of time. It's nice when it coincides with ETH being up as well, but it seems like a very open way for a lot of new collectors to get into XCOPY's work, and that's always great. Seeing tweets from people who said that it's their first time having his work. Obviously, a lot of volume and interest going towards Shape as well, and we've had this discussion a couple of times. You no doubt talk about it for most of your day, just how much of a sandbox Shape can be for NFTs. I think people hear about a token maybe in the future, or we're claiming shape towards something. Obviously, there've been great releases, but it's fun seeing top artists go to shape to play around with the programmable and composable nature of it, doing different things, and the fact that you can build layers on top of layers as well. I'm sure there are ways to make bubbles composable and programmable for other people to interact with in novel ways over time as well. So really excited to see how it plays out over the next few years.
The consumerist thing that you mentioned multiple times, I actually experienced yesterday, which was hilarious because Han was going crazy in the booth, and there was at one moment it was such a madness that people were just throwing forms at him, and they were and I didn't understand what they are doing, because I'm like, what are you? Because they just saw people queuing and throwing and filling this form. So there were literally people leaving their emails because they saw other people leaving emails, and they didn't even wait to get the bubble, and they just left. And I'm like, what is happening here? Like they just followed the crowd, and without actually and then was like, this is like an actual visual example of this madness, kind of this herd mentality that would people see, everyone is leaving emails on this forms, and I'm gonna do this as well. And I think this reflects a lot on actually our space as well.
Yeah.
And for me to see this artwork, it's just, it was the moment when I learned about it, and I keep learning about it from XCOPY, and how he thinks through things with this things. It's as Hans said, it's layers and layers and layers. So it's so much to explain to people, but it actually is a great example when we can say, yes, NFTs are, some apes, some PFPs, some GIFs, but in this case, it doesn't really matter what visually it is, because it's about like this whole performance. It's basically intangible art. It's performance art, and actually, it's easier to explain that medium here in Art Basel, because everyone is aware of what performance art is, than in our space, in crypto space, because before we couldn't release anything. People were like, what's happening? Is it gonna be ugly? What is it exactly? What does it mean, performance? So it's gonna be shit. What do you explain in his word salad? Like, yes, it is word salad, but because this is intangible, what you're getting. And I think right now, once people experience that, they actually will get the point of the artwork. And it touches on a lot of points, as you said. Like for me, this consumerist herd mentality, collector's mindset, when they just buy things and they forget in their storage, in their works, in their wallets. And you don't know in 10 years if actually your bubble will be the one that stayed. And we just keep buying things, and we forget about the randomness, the pure randomness of not only how this is bursting, but also the randomness of the number of NFTs in each card in the fair. And the one online, these are different numbers as well. So sometimes you get lucky, you wake up in the right time, and you can mint a good an artwork. And then so it's just like a lot of like tiered situations here that are very crypto invertive and reflective. And a few years ago, some Spike was explaining to me the difference between blockchain art, crypto art, and just digital art on blockchain. Just let's say video file that is using blockchain as a distribution and technology. But XCOPY was in one of the examples of crypto art, and this is a good example of crypto art because it's something intangible that is self-reflected into a crypto culture. So it's a very powerful, I think, piece conceptually, and it's just an amazing opportunity as a gallery to work with, as we spoke, an artist that is completely unknown to the traditional art, that is working within the conceptual framework as an artwork. And for an art fair, instead of also just showing something physical, like, I'm gonna print this file and then frame it nicely, or artificially turn something physical because it's an art fair. I specifically struggle with that because I spoke to a museum curator once, and he's like, how do you justify this medium? How this medium is justified conceptually with the artwork? And often it's not. Often it's an artificial object that has just been made because it's an art fair. So we're gonna somehow turn our digital piece into a physical thing because we're gonna ship it to a traditional collector. It doesn't work like that, because in this case the installation is actually justified by the concept. And this is the first time I think that he designed physical artifacts. So you have the soap, you have the floor, you have the neon, you have the form. So these are the first, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but like so far to our knowledge, like physical artifacts, but they're not artificially made. Like I'm gonna frame nicely his prints, but they are elements of the art installation that actually the artwork is something that, you know, we don't even see.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think what people do with the physical will provide some interesting data and insight into consumer behavior as well. I'm sure it'll be hard to track, some will get lost, but the real value, and I don't mean financial, just the participation value of this for most people will be either using the code or claiming the free 10 bubbles and being part of the community and activity. For those that just take the physical, never open it because they want to protect the soap, they want to protect the code, they don't get involved in the participation, they value the item over the conceptual piece over the community. I'm sure some people will do that. I think if I was to be in Miami and take one, I'd like to think that I'd use the soap. You may as well get some use out of it rather than let it decay on a shelf that you never look at again. I know XCOPY did some print on demand work years ago. I don't know how much of that still exists. I think there was 1 or 2 canvas artworks, but I'm sure there will be some people who see this as a piece to keep on their shelf and attach value to over time.
Yeah, I mean, I think this collection, you know, for me, it's really interesting to just kind of see in the context of, you know, everything I've, you know, seen XCOPY do over the last 7+ years now. Yeah, XCOPY's always been like at the forefront of experimenting with, you know, the best technology and the best, you know, abilities of being able to tokenize new works on the blockchain. And so like right now, you know, this release is this dynamic artwork conceptual experience that's going to last for 10 years, which is awesome. And it's like this latest conceptual art release from XCOPY. But XCOPY was also, you know, I have to double check, but definitely one of the first artists that I saw do conceptual art in NFTs. I mean, the first one that comes to mind was in 2019. I think it was early 2019, but the artwork Zero, which literally is just a blank PNG. It's nothing. And he minted a completely blank PNG that, you know, has now traded multiple times. I think the last sale was a few $100,000, but seeing kind of like the progression of not only, you know, the abilities of the space, and, you know, Shape is definitely leading the way with, you know, these types of really innovative experiences. And I love that XCOPY's always experimenting with, you know, what can be done and what's possible. And so like to see how far that's come just in 6 years, it's pretty mind blowing. But, you know, XCOPY was one of the first artists to do anything conceptual related to NFTs.
Yeah, totally. By the way, people just walked by. We should have just grabbed him.
Go get him.
Managing the dogs now.
Yeah, if he brings a dog by, he should just show the dog. Yeah, but there's a pen with all these dogs over there, and I mean these robotic dogs with heads of Elon and Jeff Bezos, I think, and Zuck. It's really, and then they crouch down, and oh, here's AC from the gym, and
What's up, man? How we doing? Sorry to interrupt.
yeah,
Happy Elon's here.
yeah, and and these dogs, they kind of like, you know, virtually they crouch and then they poop. And then the poop is, of course, the digital art that comes out from the behind. So it's actually like really cool. And and going back to what you said, Roses. Yeah, I think I mean, it's really been an honor working with XCOPY and also working with Mimi from Nguyen Wahed Gallery, making all this happen. And you're right that XCOPY he's always experimenting. He's always like pushing things that could be possible. And so like when we built Shape and we started talking to him, we had helped him create a right-click share as well in the past, a long time ago at DECA. And so when I reached out and said, hey, let's figure out if you want to do something on Shape, yeah, he was one of the first that was like, oh wow, wait, I could put all SVG on chain. Well, let me figure out how that works, and then he created Copsolata. And then when Mimi approached us and said, hey, do you think XCOPY would be interested in something? And I reached out to XCOPY, and then we started talking about what this could be, and it turned into this like really interesting conceptual, piece of art. Yeah, it really is quintessential XCOPY. He's always doing this. And what's also interesting to me, and just going back to what Mdiac said, is that yeah, really Shape is turning into this like sandbox playground for on-chain objects. Like, and I talk about this all the time, and I'll repeat it again. Regardless of today's gas prices on ETH-L1, which is low today, if you think about where Ethereum is going, it's either gas is incredibly low for forever, and so suppose gas is incredibly low forever on ETH-L1. There's only two options here. One is that nobody's using Ethereum in 10 years, or well, actually, I kind of messed up that logical thing. Essentially, there's if gas is low forever, then it means that nobody's using Ethereum, and it's the economic it's an economic system for limited block space. And so what I predict is that, of course, technical achievements will try to keep lowering gas on both L1s and L2s. But what I see is going to happen is that on L1, over a long period of time, gas is going to be very expensive. And if it's a global settlement layer, there will not be a period of downtime where gas is low. And so this project really could only take place on a chain that specifically is designed for NFTs and cost is low. Imagine, 5-10 years later, every day we're popping all these bubbles, and we just imagine the cost it would be in years. And so this really could have only happened on Shape. And yeah, it was really exciting to be able to work with XCOPY on it. One thing that I just wanted to bring up was this is XCOPY's, I guess, third conceptual piece of art. Roses, is that true?
What's the second one that you're thinking of?
Right-click share. So 0 right-click share.
So yeah, there's 0. There's right-click share. Yeah, I mean, I'd have to go back through, but there's not another one that's jumping to mind right now. So I think 3 is a good call for right now. But right-click share is one of my favorites. I was doing private sales a lot of last year and sold a few of the pink squares. And I mean, how many pinks are there again? There's like 10 or 11. I forget. But I worked with a couple people that were basically trying to get a full set of these. And it's something that I've always been interested in trying to do myself. I just haven't yet gotten around to it. But I love this release concept. I forget when this was released. Was this 22 or 21?
22.
22, yeah.
22. Yeah, I remember releasing it with XCOPY. It's a really interesting concept. It's the idea. It's I think it's 12 by 12. And oops, the camera. Okay, I have a camera where it starts tracking my head. I don't know how to turn off. But yeah, the camera's gonna move with my head. But this piece of art is a 12 by 12, I believe. No, it's a lot more. It's
Yeah.
yeah. I forget what the exact dimensions are, but it's a 1024 pixels, and then number 0, which Pravina is screen sharing here. This is you could say this is the actual piece of art. So it's a completely on chain. And if you refresh metadata, 32 by 32. If you refresh it, it actually reflects each of the pixels that have been attested. And so each pixel, if you don't attest it for 1 year, it turns into this like blank white pixel. And so every pixel owner has their responsibility to keep this picture alive. And it's so interesting because this entire conceptual piece of art that was created by XCOPY is intended to express the principles of crypto. As in, inside of crypto, if you no longer believe, and if you're, let's say for like a chain, if you're not running nodes, ultimately the chain will die. And that's the same exact thing for Ethereum. If you're not running the nodes, and if not enough people are running nodes, like crypto will die. It's the same thing for this piece of art. If not enough people are believing in the pixels and actually attesting, and attesting is an on-chain action. Like you have to actually click on, say, every year you have to click on the button. This picture will just go blank. And so it really was, I think, this kind of deep, expression of what crypto is. And what I most love about also this work is this piece, number 0. So I talked about it with XCOPY. We're like, how about if we burn it? As in, we burn this piece. And at the time, for example, this piece could have been sold. That was obviously the clear alternative. But in order for the art to be conceptually complete, just as nobody owns Ethereum, the network, right? Nobody owns it, and nobody owns these. I mean, it took time for Ethereum to get there, but the idea was that you couldn't own number 0, and so we burned it, and we burned it to 0x deca 5 decas, I think, and it sits there and it's been burned, and so that was a really cool moment.
Han, do you own any of these?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I own a pixel. Yeah.
What colors do you have the?
It's the dark navy blue. It's a part of the hoodie.
What about you guys, Mdiac? Does HiveMind have any of these?
No, we don't. I don't have any personally. I don't know why. HiveMind, we've got our 4 1-of-1s and grifters. Nothing else by XCOPY.
Not yet.
Not yet. I know you've tried me on remnants a few times.
I will continue trying on remnants.
Nice. By the way, just kind of, it looks like a couple people have mentioned, and we should probably answer it. They've asked whether they expect. So a lot of people have asked because we mentioned the approximate chances involved is like 1 out of 10 million, and I think the answer is it's actually going to be on Sunday, whatever number of bubbles have been minted, that is the probability. And so the reason 1 out of 10 million was put there is because there is a hard limit inside of the contract, and it just limits to that. And so we just gave the worst odds, and the reality is that every odd, the real odds will be better than the worst odds. And I'll also refer you to the terms. If you want to look at all the details, definitely take a look at terms. And another part of I think just drawing parallels between right-click share and Bubbles or Coin Laundry is I love how his conceptual pieces of art they involve time, right? So like right-click share is this infinite piece of art, as in like until Ethereum disappears, which I hope never does, and I think Ethereum is with us until forever. It is an ongoing performance art. It just keeps going. Every year we will see a different set of holders and people who are, clicking on testing the pixels, and then same thing for Bubbles. It's like a 10-year project, and who knows where we'll be in 10 years? Like it's such an interesting. Like 2035, I can't even imagine what will we be doing like when we look back on this video in 2035. Like
Seriously,
right?
That's almost scary to think about. Like I mean, I've been like thinking a lot about the future of things more in the last couple of years since I became a dad, and I've got 2 young kids, and thinking about how do you guide these kids into the future when like 10, 20 years from now is just so abstract to me in terms of like what the world is going to be like, what technology is going to be like. Obviously, AI and everything else, happening. It's really hard for me to picture what 10 years from now looks like. It's hard for me to picture what 5 years from now looks like. And so that's something really interesting. Definitely. I mean, a decade is a very long time. We'll see.
Yeah, it's I mean, if we play in reverse, right? 2015. It is. So many things have happened. I think for all 4 of us, and I think Mimi is just handling a lot of on-site things that are happening, so that's why she's gone. But like all 4 of us, I think, imagine like I couldn't ever imagine in 2015 doing like being part of this whole like art world that's been created on chain, and here we are talking about art and being at Art Basel and like hosting and creating this piece of art that is really interesting. And so yeah, really hard to imagine. And I love that XCOPY's art just incorporates this time. And so, and by the way, I think a lot of people have been asking like how do I mint Bubbles? And I think we should probably cover that briefly. So if you are in Miami, you can, of course, go inside of the main convention hall and then definitely experience the Coin Laundry laundromat experience for sure. But also, if you're in Miami, there's going to be a lot of locations outside of the convention hall and is accessible for everyone in Miami. And so it's take a look at /locations, so bubbles.art/locations. And there you'll be able to see all the places where you can just go and pick up a claim code, and you don't have to be inside the convention hall. So bubbles.art/locations, take a look. And then we also have bubbles.art/allow list. So anybody who is so today the external location will be Art Basel, and and that's hosted by Pizza Down. So definitely go to this event if you want to claim code, and this is outside of the convention hall, so you can access it if you're in Miami. And then yes, /locations, and if you are online, we kind of constructed the allow list, and XCOPY added all the people all of the holders that he wanted to make sure that people have access to. Basically, if you've really interacted with NFTs in some reasonable amount of time, like, you have access to it. So if you go to bubbles.art/allow list, just double check that your wallet address is there, then you'll be able to mint. And XCOPY really wanted collectors of a lot of artists to definitely have access. So, for example, if you own a Kim Assendorf, or if you own Dark Farms, and there's so many other artists that he wanted to ensure collectors of those artists were on the list. So definitely go check that out. And if you're in Miami, check out our Basel by Pizza DAO today. And then keep looking at / locations. More locations will be added each time, and it's really worth it. These claim codes. So online, if you have an address that is on the allow list, you can only mint 10 bubbles. But if you have a claim code, you can mint up to 1,500 per claim code. So it is definitely worth it. Go check it out. And yeah, okay, so those are all the details. Okay, we got wanted to cover some maybe questions. Were there questions from the audience that we could answer? Let's see, just looking through. From Hilbert Space, there was a.
You guys think XCOPY is going to be in attendance secretly?
I think I can say no. Yeah, yeah, he's not gonna be there. So, but I don't know. Maybe I should have said maybe.
Or is he? Or is he standing behind Mimi?
Possibly.
If he does, he'll have to buy a ticket himself because I didn't get him a badge.
Yeah, it would have been pretty cool if XCOPY was there, because I think being able to experience, he was very, very specific about the experience. Like, he wanted this specific color. Like, he wanted this, and it was his idea to do the whole like laundry carbon copy. And I was like, yeah, that's a really cool idea, right? And yeah, he was really excited for truly reproducing this like feeling of this like beaten up laundromat, and just kind of like obtaining bubbles that way. So and I just want to say, Hilbert Space mentioned this idea of like, the metaphor of bit rot. Right, we live in a society where I think actually a lot of the internet is really disappearing. Right, it's like, especially the early stuff that happened on the internet, the servers go down. The businesses behind that, don't work anymore. And the metaphor of like these bubbles popping of like literal bit rot, intended bit rot, I think is a really cool comparison.
My final question is, who gets to keep the sign? Who's keeping? Are you taking Coin Laundry home? Putting it on the wall, maybe.
We wanted to give it to a coin laundry shop next to Pravin's hotel that actually is called Coin Laundry, and these are exactly the colors. The only thing is that it says 24/7. So we have a place. One of our friends in Miami, he said he can store it temporarily for us.
Very cool.
And we're donating the machines to the Union Workers of Art Basel.
Amazing.
Because they are working machines. So they were like, yeah, we'll do it. So yeah, it's been like a very big project where so many people are helping us, and I've never seen so many collectors that I met throughout the years that are just helping up with labor, manual, heavy work, lifting. Yesterday, like in the night, Selador and Praveen were doing the floor with Matt before the guys got kicked out. All the artists like Andreas Gissing were actually on their knees on the floor, like mounting the floor with their hands, and Lander and Nicolas. So it's just been an amazing experience to see everyone coming together. I mean, Hannes with AC was really trying to drive around Miami and search for floors with us over the weekend as well, because we got like some logistics challenges. And yeah, it's just kind of like, this is all a work of, I think, 20 people that are coming together, that are collectors, friends, artists. And to see them, like that XCOPY, for example, bought one of the artworks from Tim Asendorf in 2012, and now seeing Tim Asendorf and him next to each other in the booth, and actually all these guys helping each other and mounting, like, it sounds absurd, but literally doing the floor. It's just it's an amazing moment to celebrate. I think it's the digital art space that it's not just from 2019, but actually these guys know each other from 2012 or earlier. So it's coming together, and it took more than almost 15 years to be here.
Amazing. I love it. I love it. It is seeing all of the work that went into this, and being able to experience it in person. It really was. I felt it was like pretty magical. It's just really fun. From seeing the entire journey, from just an idea to seeing it in person, and then the entire X Twitter feed it seems to be bubbles, and everybody's just having fun. It's been a dream. It's been incredible, and and then Roses, if you had the final remarks, I think you can close this out.
Yeah, no, just want to thank you for inviting me to join. Huge shout out to everybody that put together all of these exhibitions that are taking place at 010 and at Basel. Shout out Eli and everybody else that brought this together. I mean, earlier this year, a few months ago, I was at the Toledo Museum and saw just how amazing that exhibition was. And that was one of the first times that I saw, digital art presented, in such an amazing, beautiful way. And I'm really bummed that I'm not able to be in Miami this week to see it all live in person, but all the photos and all of the people that I've heard talking about it, I think this is one of the biggest advancements that, we've seen yet in the space. And so I think it's a very exciting time for all digital artists, but definitely congrats to all of the artists that are showing in Miami this week. And thank you all for having me.
Amazing. Yeah, absolutely. If you are in Miami, and definitely check out 010. Our Basel exhibits for I'm just gonna run through Larva Labs, Tyler Hobbs, Dmitry Cherniak, Jack Butcher, Yatreda, Joe Pease, Beeple, Kim Assendorf, and of course XCOPY. They're really fun. It's I felt, of course, I'm a little bit biased. I felt the entire 010 section was actually the highlight of the entirety of Art Basel, and I am biased, but it was really interesting. So check it out if you're in Miami. It's really worth it. And of course, just to close out the episode, if you are if you're in Miami, inside of Art Basel, you can obtain the claim codes. Definitely go experience Coin Laundry. But if you're not inside of Art Basel, you can also get claim codes. Go to bubbles.art/locations, and you'll be able to see all the places where you can get the claim codes. And of course, if you're not in Miami, check out bubbles.art/allow list, and you'll be able to see all of the addresses and see if you're part of the if you can mint bubbles. And of course, after you mint it, you can look at the bubbles you have in a cluster view. And in the cluster view, you can download it so you can share it on socials. It's a really fun experience. So check it out. And just wanted to thank everyone for listening, and wanted to thank all of our guests here that talked about bubbles and XCOPY and conceptual art. Really appreciate it. So thank you, Mdiac, Roses, and Mimi for all of this. And agreed, absolutely. Thank you to the Art Basel team, 010, and of course Eli for making it all happen. I can't wait. I hope to be able to see it again. I was gonna fly out today, but I pushed back my flight, so maybe I'll swing by again. And I can't wait to see it. And amazing. So thanks all for listening. That was the 3rd episode of Bonafides. Definitely follow me for additional episodes that'll be coming up. We have some really interesting ones that are lined up. Can't wait to share it. And hope you have an amazing day.
See everyone.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.